Hey traders, it's John Fortune here with this week's Weekly Forex Forecast for the 10th of September to the 14th of September 2018. As always, we're going to start by looking at the US dollar index and oil before running through a number of markets, identifying the key levels of support and resistance in the process, and we're also going to be outlining the targets that we're going to be looking for in this coming week and also for the weeks ahead. So just before we begin, I'd just like to say a quick thank you for all the positive feedback that we've had from the course that we put out last weekend. I'm very pleased to hear that for many of you it's opened your eyes to just how simple profitable trading can be if you just keep things simple and you don't overcomplicate things. So with that, let's jump over to the charts and see where the money is this week. As always, starting with the US dollar index. Now, last week we had a pretty slow week in the markets leading into that non-farm payroll data on Friday, but we start this week above the 95.13. This is a great place if we can get a pullback and preferably a retest of broken resistance turning support. This is going to be a great place to start to look for bullish formations and patterns, and we're going to be looking at further advances in the US dollar index next week up towards the key area of resistance and the next target set at the 96.07. If we get a breakthrough here, although this is unlikely to be just next week, it may take longer than just next week, we're going to be looking up towards the second target to the upside and target 2 at the 96.98. Next we have crude oil. Now in crude oil you can see we broke down below the key area of broken resistance looking to turn support at 69.20, and we actually sit underneath this going into this week. So very simply put, we're looking for further declines in oil, and if we get a pullback, and preferably if we can get a pullback and a retest of broken support turning resistance at the 69.20, this is going to be a great place to start to look for bearish formations and patterns. We're going to be looking at initiating shorts down towards the next key area of support to the downside and the target set at the 66.22, and if we can get a breakthrough here, we're going to be looking down towards the next key area of support to the downside and target 2 at the 64.48. So the first pair we're going to look at is the euro dollar. Now we start the week below the key area of broken support looking to turn resistance to the 1.15921. If we can get a pullback, and it would be nice to see a little break further down, then if we can get a pullback and preferably a pullback and a retest of broken support looking to turn resistance to the 1.15921, this is going to be a great place to start to look for bearish formations and patterns, and we're going to be looking at initiating shorts down towards the next key area of support to the downside and the target set at the 1.14485, and if we can get a breakthrough here, we're going to be looking down towards the next key area of support to the downside and target 2 at the 1.13081. So the next pair we're going to look at is the pound dollar. Now we start the week below the key area of broken support looking to turn resistance, although we're only a little bit below it. When we get this kind of close to the level starting the week, it's always nice to see a bit more of a move down in this area. If we can get a move further down, we're going to be looking for a pullback, and preferably if we can get a pullback and a retest of the 1.2942, so broken support, turning resistance. This is going to be a great place to start to look for bearish formations and patterns, and we're going to be looking at initiating shorts down towards the next key area of supports to the downside and the target set at the 1.2669. So the next pair we're going to look at is the US dollar Japanese yen. You can see in the US dollar Japanese yen we've been corrective for a while now. You can see we've been sort of chopping up and down, and there is a risk going into next week that this kind of choppy structure continues. But as we start the week above the 110.556, if we can get a pullback and preferably if we can get a retest of broken resistance looking to turn support at the 110.556, this is going to be the preferable place to start to look for bullish formations and patterns. And we're going to be looking at initiating longs up towards the next key area of resistance, the upside and the target set at the 112.054. And if we get a breakthrough here, and just remember, because we've had this choppy markets, there is a risk we bounce off of here and we start to go into a bit of a range. But if we do break through the top here and we hold up in this area, we're going to be looking for a secondary target to the upside and the target set at the 113.086. So next pair we're going to look at is the Aussie dollar. Now the Aussie dollar starts the week having broken down below key support at 0.71767. So very simply put, especially as we're looking for potential advances in the dollar index next week as the higher probability move, if we can get a pullback in this area, preferably if we can get a pullback and a retest of broken support turning resistance at the 0.71767, this is going to be the preferable place to start to look for bearish formations and patterns. And we're going to be looking at initiating shorts down towards the next key area of support to the downside and the target set at the 0.70467. And if we get a breakthrough here, we're going to be looking down towards the next key area of supports to the downside and target 2 at the 0.69500. So the next pair we're going to look at is the New Zealand dollar. Now, last week we actually broke down below the key area of broken support, looking to turn resistance, and you can see in this case it already has tested as resistance once, the 0.66085. So very simply put, going into this week, we're looking for further declines in the New Zealand dollar as the higher probability move. If we get a pullback into this area, preferably if we can get a second retest, that would be great. This is the preferable area to start to look for shorts from. If we can get a pullback, preferably to retest broken support, turning resistance once more, this is going to be a great place to start to look for bearish formations and patterns. We're going to be looking down towards the next key area of support to the downside and the target set at the 0.64568. And if we get a breakthrough here, we're going to be looking down towards the next key area of support to the downside and target 2 at the 0.63529. So the next pair we're going to look at is the US dollar Swiss franc. Now in the US dollar Swiss franc, we actually start the week below broken support, looking to turn resistance at the 0.98073. So we would ideally be looking for a pullback into this area. However, you will have noticed that for the US dollar to be strong, if the US dollar is going to be strong next week, then it means that we might struggle for a downside move in the US dollar Swiss franc, despite the fact that we are structured to the downside as the higher probability move. So what you might find is this: you might find that actually if we are going to have a strong dollar next week, perhaps we take out the target first and we spend the rest of the week with dollar strength, or we have dollar strength pulling back to retest broken support, turning resistance in this area, and then perhaps the week after we get this follow through to the downside. So either way, if we are going to look for shorts in the US dollar Swiss franc, we would first of all like to see a pullback to retest broken support, looking to turn resistance at the 0.98073. If we get a pullback into this area, this is where we can start to look for bearish formations and patterns, and going to be looking at initiating shorts to next key area of support to the downside and target set at the 0.95838. And if we get a breakthrough here, we're going to be looking down towards the next key area of support to the downside and target 2 at the 0.94897. So just bear in mind, if we do get that strength in the dollar next week, the Swiss franc may get choppy or corrective. We may be seeing this pullback instead, and the bears may struggle next week if we have dollar strength in this US dollar Swiss franc pair. Just bear that in mind next week. So the next pair we're going to look at is the US dollar CAD. Now we start the week with a really nice formation in the US dollar CAD. We've actually broken above the key area of broken resistance, in this case at 1.30952. And this is now a great place where if we get a pullback, preferably if we get a retest of broken resistance turning support, this is going to be a great place going into next week to start to look for bullish formations and patterns. We're going to be looking at initiating longs up towards the next key area of resistance and the target set at the 1.32867. And if we can get a breakthrough here, we're going to be looking up towards the next key area of resistance to the upside and target 2 at the 1.33779. And last but not least, we have gold. Now, for 2 weeks, gold has pretty much sat in this area ever since the end of August over here. And we've pretty much just been correcting in gold for 2 weeks underneath the key area of broken support, turning resistance to the 1205.57. So very simply put, as we start the week below this key area of broken support, turning resistance once again last week, this is going to be a great place if we can get a pullback, potentially if we can get another retest of this area. This is going to be a great place to start to look for bearish formations and patterns, and we're going to be looking at initiating shorts down towards the next key area of support to the downside in gold and the target set at the 1160.50. And if we can get a breakthrough here, although this may take longer than just next week, we're going to be looking down towards the next key area of support and target 2 at the 1142.40. Now, just bear in mind, last thing to say on gold is that where we've been correcting for 2 weeks around this area, if we do get a sell-off next week, if we do get that strength in the dollar, we could see a quite explosive move in gold as we break out of this sort of choppy markets over the last 2 weeks. So gold is certainly one that I'm going to be keeping my eye on next week. So that is it from me for this week, guys. As always, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please let me know by liking, sharing and subscribing. A big thank you to all of you who do that on a regular basis, and a big thank you to those of you who have subscribed to the channel so far. I hope you all have a fantastic weekend. I hope you all have a great week in the markets next week. The only thing left to say is take care and don't forget to trade safely.